financial city that you could ever live in here in Irvine. We're devoted here at the City Council, and I am, to educational excellence. I'm the chairman of the Irvine Education Partnership Fund, which is tasked with giving $9.2 million of our city council money, our city money, your tax money, to help Irvine schools. $9.2 million. I am the only city council member to not take the luxury car allowance, and also to not take the health insurance or pension benefits. I decline that. We are part-time city council members, and it's not my role to have benefits from the city council. My job is to make sure that we safeguard the master plan of the city of Irvine, and make sure that we maintain a suburban character of our city, and not become an urban center like Los Angeles or Chicago or New York. My job basically is to make sure that Irvine is a wonderful place to live, to work, and to raise your family. Thank you.
Well, I was here 2 years ago, and the forum was outside. It was around 85 degrees plus. So I'd like to thank the South Coast Chinese Cultural Association for having this forum inside. Thank you. Well, I'm originally from South Orange County, and I never left. I started working at the age of 11, delivering newspapers to the Orange County Register, where I did that for 3 years, and started in the industrial packaging supply industry at the age of 18. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton with a business degree. 3 years ago, I started my own industrial supply company. In 2010, I was elected to the Quail Hill Board of Directors, and I was voted president by my colleagues. We stopped wasteful spending, dramatically improved services, and lowered homeowner assessments 3 times in 3 years while doubling HOA reserves. And those things are unheard of to do. In 2011, I was elected to the Turtle Ridge Board of Directors, where I ended the practice of non-competitive bids for vendor services. And at the beginning of this council campaign, I pledged to knock on 10,000 doors by Election Day. And I'm pleased to say I've been to around 8,800 as of right now. And I went to one of your board members. I'd like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Go for talking to me earlier in the week. I knocked on your door just by coincidence. And from these conversations, I developed a specific and achievable plan that's good for all Irvine residents. Number 1, as you've seen on my signs, I want to synchronize all the city traffic lights. Number 2, I do want to slow down high-density developments. And number 3, I want to make certain that our tax dollars are used wisely, and we put all new hires on a 401k pension plan. And those are my 3 main points. And I want to accomplish these things because they need to get done for our city's long-term sustainability. Our aging infrastructure desperately needs an upgrade. And I respectfully and humbly ask for your vote November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Lynn Schott, and as a 29-year Irvine resident, I value what makes Irvine great: cultural diversity, world-class education, outstanding public safety, award-winning master planning, and business innovation. I've been so honored to serve the community as a Community Services Commissioner, and now serving as a Planning Commissioner. And when I first came to the Irvine Planning Commission, I also had concerns about our growth, the pace of our growth. And I led a successful effort when I came to the commission to remove mandates that I found in our city's housing plan for high-rise and high-density housing. And I thought that was an important policy measure to take, something that's concrete, so that we no longer have to focus in one of our state-mandated documents to pursue high-rise, high-density housing. As your city councilwoman, I will not forget these priorities. Irvine has had such a rich and colorful history, and I want us to enjoy a vibrant and prosperous future. My goal for Irvine is to remain the #1 business-friendly city in the region, encouraging innovation and job creation. Irvine should also be known as the center of academic achievement and inquiry and cultural refinement. I look forward to collaborating with all of you to meet this goal. As a business owner and an educator, I understand how important our young talent and our entrepreneurs are to the future of Irvine. I teach online classes in American government and economics to students that are in junior high and high school, and I work with children every single week, every day, working with them to better their future. And I will do no less as your city council woman. I'm a proud member of the Asian Women Entrepreneurs Organization and was recently involved in awarding business entrepreneurs from wonderful Asian women who are just bringing such incredible energy to our community and business innovation to our community. I appreciate their energy, and I want to ensure that we, with the city, remain partners in all of our future success. Together with my husband, Russ, we've raised and educated our now 3 adult children in this great city, and we've spent hundreds of hours volunteering for scouting. In fact, I have 2, my sons are both Eagle Scouts. My daughter earned her silver award in Girl Scouts, and I was involved in both of those troops for the boys and the girls. Our local public schools through the Exchange Club, honoring our excellent scholar athletes as well as our excellent teachers. I'm very involved with the Chamber of Commerce, both with the Workforce Development Program as well as the Economic Vitality Council. Workforce development is working with our business owners and our colleges and universities to make sure that there are measurable skills that are being taught to your students so that when they graduate, they can take jobs here in Irvine. Irvine is my home. I just live down the street. I've been here for nearly 30 years, and I'm committed to working together with you for our future success. And I thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this forum today.
Good afternoon, South Coast Chinese Cultural Association. I'm very glad to be indoors. I'm very happy to be here. I have lived and worked in Irvine for over 25 years. I also serve on the board of the Irvine Donor Committee and volunteer for Friends About Regent Seniors for more than 2 years. Can you hear me? Yes. And I also served and worked over at Legal Aid. I've developed a lot of friends over at the Senior Center and over at Legal Aid to help them when they need help for free. I have a professional career serving in legal and finance as an executive for over 20 years for a multi-million-dollar company. And I am also a small business owner. I have a master's degree in business and a background in business law, finance, and local government. My family lives and works in the city. My husband, Phil, works at the Irvine Senior Center, and most of you know him if you go there, or your grandparents go there. My daughter grew up here in Irvine, attended every high school, middle school, grade school, and had a scholarship to move on to Concordia University. From there, she graduated in pre-med and was accepted at Loma Linda Medical School. There, she graduated as a graduate and received a white coat as a biological scientist. During that interim, she also gave of herself as a research person for the VA hospital in Loma Linda. She co-authored a paper, and she's on Google, and now she is helping in gene therapy to help some of our military on the ground and over Afghanistan help repair their limbs. So I'm very, very proud of her. Next year, she will be attending medical school and her PhD program. So we have a lot invested in the schools, in the community, within any nonprofit organization here. We as a family do. So it's important to us that you know that we have a great deal involved here. And I'm hoping for your vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Stephen Choi, I'm your mayor. I'm so happy to be here, I'm so impressed. So many of you are out here, and this is the most successful candidate forum so far I have seen. It has been my honor to serve as your mayor, and now I'm seeking your vote for re-election. As you know, I'm the first generation immigrant from Korea, and on this outset, I want to say that I love Korean, I should say Chinese community and pro-Chinese community. Here's a proof. My daughter and sister married Chinese Americans. And my son is available maybe for Chinese daughter-in-law, I don't know. I have also appointed Anthony Ko to Planning Commission. He's the chairperson, most powerful commission in the city commissions and the committees. And he is supposed to be here today, but I haven't seen him yet. And then I also have Deborah Lin. I appointed her to as a mayor executive assistant. Raise your hand right there. I even carry my business card in Chinese character to serve the Chinese community better. So remember that. As a mayor, I have made many reforms. We are making great progress. This resulted in more than $3 billion in estimated positive economic impact for the next 30 years in Irvine. Public safety, prudent fiscal management, a commitment to Irvine's master plan with a healthy environment, excellent schools, of course, and continuing our extensive programs and the services for seniors, children, and the disabled remain my top priorities. Keeping Irvine as a community of diversity is my keen interest to me, so that we can live together in peace and harmony despite the cultural and ethnic differences. In the last 2 years, Irvine was named the safest city in America for 10th consecutive year. I've been on the city council for 10 years. Make some connections there. The best run city in America and the best city to live in California. We ended the waste and corruption that characterized the planning and construction of the Great Park. Now 688 acres are finally being constructed. It will be completed within your lifetime, in 5 years. And the planning for the Metropolitan Library and other museums is underway in the cultural tourists. Our finances are in order. Irvine will receive $292 million from the state for the dismantling our redevelopment agency. We will pay off our pension liability in the next 9 years, as the first city in California to do so during my term with the majority. We had $8 million of budget surplus in 2013 and 14, and we expect at least that much of a surplus in this fiscal year. Retaining and creating new jobs is critical for my successful city, and we are doing that. I work hard to keep Broadcom in Irvine, and Irvine is now becoming a hub for innovative tech companies. During my second term, I will continue to focus on improving the quality of all of our lives. Whether you are foreign-born or domestically origin here in the USA, we are all coming from somewhere, different parts of the world. With your support, we can make it happen. And thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. My name is Marianne Guido, and I'm running for mayor of Irvine. I arrived in Irvine in 1968 with my young family, and we have lived in the same house ever since. And I immediately got involved with what was to become the new city of Irvine. As you know, it wasn't until 1971 in December that the citizens voted for incorporation, and I was able to be involved with the incorporation and the immediate aftermath when we decided how we wanted to see the city. What was our vision for this new master plan town? I was appointed to the Planning Commission in 1973, which was the year the residents determined our own general plan. Not the Irvine Company's general plan, but the City of Irvine residents' general plan. We talked to the residents talked together, and we put together a vision that was going to give us a community that protected the qualities that residents came to expect and cherish. I went on to become a city councilwoman from 1976 to 1984, and went back on the Planning Commission, and I have been reappointed to the Planning Commission since 2000 and am currently on the Planning Commission. So all in all, I have a lot of experience in the city of Irvine. I have 8 years experience on the city council, and I have almost 20 years experience as a planning commissioner. So you can hear in my voice that I have a passion for planning, and that's the reason I determined that I wanted to return to the city council, and I wanted to challenge the mayor, because I believe that Irvine is at a crossroads. We are deciding in this election who controls the future of our city. Is it the profit-driven developers, or is it the Irvine residents? I look backwards and can tell you the story that the very first city council had a similar situation. The Irvine Company, the owner of all the land in the city of Irvine, put up 5 candidates for the first city council. But guess what? Only 2 of those Irvine Company-backed candidates won. So the majority of the very first city council said, we want to stop right now. We're going to call a moratorium, and we are going to decide, we, the residents, are going to decide how we want our city developed. And so let's move forward almost 40 years. Because today we know that we are facing a crossroads in planning and development. We see our roads overcrowded. We see our classrooms overcrowded. We see our police services getting thinner. We know that maybe this is the time. This is the time to say, time out. This is a time for us to say, we don't need additional growth. In the last 2 years, this city council majority not only continued building the master plan, the general plan of the city, but they amended the general plan. They added 10,000 new houses and apartments at the Great Park. That means 20,000 more cars, 30,000 more people. I oppose that plan, and that's the reason I've chosen to run for mayor of Irvine. We need to say stop. Let's put a moratorium on the planning in this city. Let's come together, let's talk about our vision for the future, and then let's balance any new growth with additional ways in which we can move traffic on our streets. Let's get a transit. Why should we be the only large metropolitan area without a transit system, without an alternative transportation program? Let's make sure that our schools are built before we have new building permits for new homes. Let's make sure that we have the police services that we need as we move forward and grow as a larger city in the residential arena. So I think that we have the opportunity in the future now to make sure that thoughtful planning, which has made Irvine the safest city, continues. And as your mayor, I make this simple pledge that we will implement a slow growth ordinance. We will determine the number of building permits allowed in the future. If I'm elected mayor, I promise, I pledge that we will move in that direction so that the residents of the city can determine our future. And with that, I thank you very much.
year plus. And for the candidates to respect that you only have 1 minute for each question. So there are 8 of you. We're going to start with Melissa first and go down the line. Tell us about your experiences attending an event at our cultural center or sponsored by SCCA in the last 3 years.
Well, I've been to a number of events here, and so it's hard to choose one, but I have to say the one that's on display here in the corridors, which I encourage everyone to visit, is by far the best example of participation, community participation from the Chinese school. The showcasing of how the Chinese community in California has overcome discrimination and has risen to levels of Nobel laureates and athletic stars, and so how immigration of the Chinese community has added to not just entertainment but education in every facet of American life. It shows about triumph over discrimination and also teaches us what we need to do as a city to embrace and accept all of our residents.
Mary?
I want to speak of 2 experiences I've had. One was preceding the last 3 years. That was to be present at the groundbreaking for the creation of this wonderful center. And that in turn grew out of an adverse experience with the Irvine Chinese School that they had at University High School, where the rents were quadrupled and it forced a crisis. That crisis led to the development of this marvelous center. I'm proud to be here today. I've been to many, many events. I'm also proud to say my wife and I are lifetime members of SCCCA. Proud to be so. The immigrant experience to which Melissa referred, which I invited to also be presented at City Hall, is something that is deeply moving. I would suggest that everyone proceed to absorb the immigrant experience, not just of the Chinese culture, but of all cultures and diverse cultures in the city of Irvine. It's very important to me and to our community. Thank you.
And before I answer your question, I just want to acknowledge my colleague on the City Council, Christina Shea, who's here watching this debate today. So that's Christina Shea. The most enjoyable experience I've had here has been at the Chinese New Year. I've come out here a few times for it, and we've been at other places to watch the Chinese New Year. It's the most enjoyable experience, and it's opened my eyes. Coming from the East Coast, I didn't have a lot of experience with the Chinese community, but I can tell you, being in Irvine with the wonderful Chinese community we have here, and the other communities, I've had to understand and really kind of figure out what we were about as Irvine. And the Chinese community along the Korean, Vietnamese community have been a wonderful experience for me to understand those different communities. I've also, most importantly for me, I've actually done something to help the vision here. A few years ago, the playground was stuck in City Council and the city staff, and they couldn't figure out how to get it passed in order to get your children their playground out there. So I worked with city staff in getting their playground out back through the City Council. So I was helpful in that regard, and I thank you all.
Well, the Chinese community is very special to me. Growing up, I had several Chinese friends, and that's how I know a little bit about the language when I opened up my statement. Now, granted, you heard about that was about 95% of it, but my only experience there was when I was here 2 years ago, and I had such a wonderful time. I decided to come back here and do it again. And if I'm elected to the council, I would love to go to any of these events that I'm invited to, and also make sure that this community is well embraced throughout Irvine. And I would be a wonderful promoter of the cultural center, and I'd love to be invited back here again. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I have run for City Council before, and I have met several of you in the past, and thank you for those who came and Reed introduced herself to me today, and thank you for being here. I've enjoyed coming here for the candidate forums in the past. I've also attended at least 2 of your children's art competitions and festivals here at the Cultural Center, as well as one of the school open houses. And most recently, I was very pleased to come for the Happy Moon Festival just a few weeks ago. And it was amazing to see that gigantic cake that was displayed down in the lobby. And it was even more wonderful to taste it when it was cut and distributed through the crowd. So that was a wonderful experience. I can say nothing less than the performances that day were very rich and enchanting. I enjoyed them very much. I learned a lot that day when I was here, and it was a wonderful event. And I went and tried the bakery over at Culver Plaza, Baby's Bakery afterwards. I'm hooked on mooncake now. So I've purchased it from a couple of different places. So anyway, I've enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me.
Kathleen?
Thank you. Leanne Hugh, which I was hoping to be here, she sits on my committee to help me get elected to mayor. She's from China. She's worked with me for probably 25 years. She's become one of our family. She celebrates our family's birthdays, family events. We celebrate hers, Chinese New Year. We are a family. She is everything to me. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'm surprised she's not here. I was here 2 years ago, and during the candidate forum, I was stunned and was not able to get anything out of my mouth. So I'm grateful today that I can do that. A few weeks ago, I went to the mosque. I took a tour of the mosque next door, and then came over here and took a tour, and it was just a beautiful. The mosque across the street was very beautiful, and when I came here and saw the peaceful setting, it was beautiful, and I thank you very much.
Stephen?
This cultural center is a jewel of the community, not only for the Chinese community, but many diverse community groups, including Korean communities, sports and language programs have been conducted here. Many events you hold, most of them have attended, like a PACE, Chinese Cultural Culmination Dinner, recently Full Moon celebration. I cannot even name all of those different events. Cultural Chinese cultural festival was taking place here. So I know how important it is for us to celebrate together the diversity. So that's the reason I admire all your efforts that you put up at different events and invite all the members of our city council and the community members.
Marianne?
Thank you. My most recent visit was for the Moon Festival, and of course I've been to this center many times for the New Year's celebration, but I did admit going back in history, and I was chair of the Planning Commission when the vision of this place came before the Planning Commission. The request was to support a Chinese cultural community center so that the space in University High School could be vacated and we could have a wonderful location in this place. I recall the young people coming before us at the podium, taking the microphone and saying, well, my mom made me come, or I'm here because my parents made me go to Chinese school, but now that I'm in college, I really appreciate the opportunity to learn my culture. So that's the reason we're here. We care about these children that we can hear running around. They are our future. They are the reason that I want to run for mayor and leave an enriched, safe, healthy planet. Thank you.
I'm going to start with Larry for question number 2. What do you believe is the biggest challenge in the development of the Great Park, and how do you plan to solve this challenge?
With respect to the Great Park, the challenge is to realize the vision of the Great Park Master Plan that we commissioned in a competitive competition, and that was the product of Ken Smith, We won that competition, developed a master plan that has received accolades not only locally, not only statewide, nationally, and internationally, but is clearly a plan that we can build to and that we should adhere to. I've been very distressed recently that basically half of the park has been turned over to 5 Point Communities, a private developer, to put a thin layer of green over 688 acres, call it a park, and say that that is a great park. No, we need to be faithful to the vision of the great park, as it takes us 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Let's build it to that vision.
Justin.
Thank you. The Great Park is a wonderful amenity for the residents of Irvine. There's 3 things that we need to do to get the Great Park moving forward, which we've done, the new council majority of Christina Shea, Stephen Choi, and myself. First, we're conducting an audit to find out where $250 million of your money went. And when we finish that audit, we'll find out if there's someone that we need to go after who's done something wrong at the Great Park. Secondly, we did finally get the Great Park moving by getting 688 acres, as Councilmember Abram references, going forward. Now, instead of sitting there idle, what we're doing is we're going to build 24 soccer fields. We're going to build a soccer stadium. We're going to build 15 tennis courts, a tennis stadium. We're going to build 7 baseball fields, 6 softball fields, a mosque. We're building so many things. We're going to have a great time out there. Then, third, we're bringing in $292 million. We have Stephen Choi, with Stephen Choi's leadership, Christina Shea and myself, we worked a deal out with the state of California to bring in $292 million to complete the final phase of the Great Park, which will be the cultural terrace. We're getting the Great Park moving forward.
Well, one of the great challenges of the Great Park is first restoring the public trust. It's been 10 years and approximately $250 million that's somewhat been thrown into a black hole. And now we have to use the developer's funds to get this thing built. And the current council did approve a plan to get this going. What I would like to bring is my experience working with vendors over at my industrial packaging company, over at my HOAs, and bring over a metrics to hold these vendors accountable to make sure that we never, ever have to deal with any type of misconduct with anybody working on the Great Park or any of the vendors working on the Great Park. We need to hold them accountable. We need policies in place, and that's my experience working in the private sector, and that's what I'd like to bring to the Great Park. Thanks.
I see the biggest challenge at the Great Park is to balance the needs of new residents with the need for revenue and infrastructure. And I'm really looking forward to the time when our sports park is completed, alongside the houses that are planned. Now, the number of homes was mentioned earlier. Homes were always anticipated at the Great Park. We need those homes to generate tax revenue so we can build schools, and we can maintain our road, build and maintain roads and the other infrastructure needed at the Great Park. So in essence, we're building Irvine's newest village, and I'm very excited to be part of the planning commission of moving that plan forward up to the city council for them to exercise leadership and finally get us going on that newest village, which is the Great Park. We will have a great amount of open space to enjoy. We will have schools. We will have, most importantly, a cultural terrace with great opportunity for cultural refinement. And I would look forward to all members of the great cultures that are represented here in Irvine to come and help us with that. Teach us, help us learn, and help us display your great culture to the rest of Irvine.
Catherine.
The development of new homes has outpaced our current image structure. The city is overwhelmed by as each project is completed. They further burden on roads, energy consumption, transportation, water, and communications. We need to invest in the city's infrastructure, including coming up with a comprehensive solution to our city's transportation challenges. I went ahead and I looked at 2012's the South Coast Communities 2012 candidates. And the exact same thing was said by both parties, only in reverse. The thing, it's still going, nothing has changed. It's still the same. What I'd like to know and like to hear is, will the parks, soccer fields, something for the kids to play on, will that be built before the 10,000 new homes and golf courses be built? Because under my leadership, it would be. Thank you.
Stephen.
I have a better news for you. The great challenges are already all solved. We have only hope. As you heard, at least somewhere 58% or 60% of the park is under construction. Big groundbreaking took place last Tuesday. The remaining area, guess what? You heard, we have $292 million. Is plenty money if we use that efficiently to build the remaining, and then also continuously seeking for private and public partnership. When I hear such a lies to you in front of you that we turned over the great park, somebody else, that is a lie. It is not. It is not the new 10,000 homes being added. Only 4,600 homes were allowed to exchange with the commercial developments with the traffic neutral. So be smart about that.
Marianne.
Well, the greatest challenge is making sure you understand the real situation. And I'm running as mayor to make sure that that message is out, that the negotiation of the city council majority and the mayor was not a good one for us, for the city. I've been to Shanghai, we've been to Hangzhou, we've seen what a great park looks like, the serenity and the calm for urban residents. However, this is a commercialized sports park, and it was given away to the developer to develop, and in return, I repeat, in return, the city council gave away a general plan amendment and zone change and amendment to the traffic level of service in return for 10,000 new houses and apartments built at the Great Park. So please, take that information, share it with your friends and neighbors, because that is the truth.
We talked about not getting enough of this past 10,000 home entitlement. We really need to make sure we get a lot more, because they're going to come back for another 10,000. And you need strong pro-resident representatives on the council to prevent privatization of the land and the programs of the Great Park. We need to fulfill the promise and vision of the Great Park as a great public park that provides outstanding recreational and cultural opportunities to the community. And then rather than tax the residents for new schools and infrastructure, we need to demand that the developer put that money forward into the community before they build. And regarding the planning of the park, when you talk about the box that's being put in by the developer, it's being put in without access, with no roads and with no parking. Right now, it was approved. So what we need to do is make sure that we have access by the community so that it doesn't end up as just a fancy backyard for the new homes that are being built.
We're going to start exactly for question number 3, going in line with number 2. Irvine is one of the fastest growing cities in America. What do you see as being the challenges from this growth?
The challenges going forward in Irvine are to make sure that we keep our public safety number one in what we focus on here. We've been, again, America's safest city for 10 years in a row. We need to make sure that we keep pace with our police and our fire services. Secondly, we need to make sure that we support our schools here in Irvine. We need to make sure that we build new high schools, we build new schools, we have excellent schools. 2 days ago, I was out at the groundbreaking for the new high school at Portola. It's going to be a $250 million beautiful high school. And with the support of the city and the city council, majorities of Christina Shagan, Stephen Choi, and myself, we supported the building of that high school over there. Third, we need to make sure that we have proper infrastructure here in Irvine. We need to make sure that our roads are built, that people can move around freely. We're undertaking a study right now to determine if we need to improve our roads and how we're going to do that once we determine that we need to improve our roads. But we're committed to make sure that you can move around in Irvine better than ever. Thank you.
Evan.
Well, one of the benefits of going to several thousand homes is I get to have several thousand conversations with Irvine residents to determine what is the most pressing issue, and the most pressing issues are traffic, congestion, and our road system. So that's what I'm running on. I'm the only candidate here who has a traffic plan to get our cars moving the way they should be going. I want to synchronize all the traffic lights. We have 338 traffic light intersections, and our current infrastructure just cannot support the extra influx that's being provided by these high-density developments. So what I would like to do is, number one, make sure that our traffic light system is working. Number two, see if we could have some roads widened. And number three, slow down these high-density units until we can get this proper infrastructure going. And that means, infrastructure to me means more high schools, more schools, more shopping centers. Thanks.
Lynn?
Thank you. Well, as a parent, I become nostalgic off of when my kids were growing up, living on into their teens and their 20s. And I was nostalgic for a time when they were small, when they were little, and I wasn't having to, deal with the giant people towering over my head that they are now. But I didn't tell them to stop growing. I managed the resources as they grew. I didn't buy them 4 or 5 pair of shoes. I bought them maybe 1 pair of shoes to manage the wardrobe as they were getting older. Same is the situation that we have with our city. We need to manage the growth and not be caught up in we want to stop growth, because that's going to stop the opportunity for your children and grandchildren for the future. We need to manage the growth as we are going forward and embrace the prosperity that we have. It is a question of managing our resources, and this is why, as a planning commissioner, I'm very concerned about the fact that a lot of money has been required of the developers for traffic mitigation measures that as yet have not been put into place. And so, as a council member, that would be job number 1 for me, is to find out why it is that those funds have not been spent to mitigate traffic where they've been collected for that reason.
Catherine?
The city of Irvine has an unprecedented distinction of being America's safest city. One of the most fundamental duties of government is to enhance public safety and welfare by creating and enforcing laws. School safety should be a number 1 concern. Managing traffic concerns is a challenge because of the reduced municipal budgets and competing resources. And how I found out about that is I spoke to the police department. I sat in a room and I asked each and every one of them, have they been compensated? How is their retention? They were very disappointed in the current council because of no raises in many years, 5 years, I believe. There is a problem with our police of retaining the police after they've already been through training. Most of them are military and they will leave. So I believe we should be more in tune with what's going on in the city, or our safe cities won't be safe anymore with all the building. We will have more people. They have to be managed. Thank you.
Stephen?
My opponents made a big deal out of fast growth, too much growth, and finger pointing at current majority, including myself. But you gotta understand, I wish I had the power. Less than 2 years, I can make it happen that way. All these developments, approvals were made by my opponents before my time, when they were in control for 12 years. In fact, many of the city growth plans were approved in 1980s. So you have to know that. So who approved that first? So therefore, we have a challenge, but we need to manage the balanced growth. Think about what they're talking about. Building moratorium, it will kill Irvine's economy. So consequences are very, very severe. You need to understand that consequences.
Mary Ann.
Thank you. The fastest growing city is definitely the biggest challenge we have, as I pointed out. We have overcrowded classrooms. You heard this from the school board members. And we know that Stonegate parents who thought they were going to Stonegate Elementary are now being bused to Portola Springs. We have a problem in the city, and the moratorium is the only sensible way for us to go so that we stop where we are now, so that we can look at our schools, not place a fifth high school between a toxic dump and the Muzak jail that is scheduled to have 7,500 inmates in it. That's a ridiculous space for the school, the fifth high school in the city of Irvine. So I think that we need to communicate with the school board, reassess the space where we're placing this new high school, and take some time, balance the growth, the new growth in the city with our city infrastructure and services.
Melissa.
What a great question. I think this is the biggest challenge the city faces today. And it is certainly a split in the vision between the council candidates. My vision includes infrastructure that is not just roads, but infrastructure that includes the iShuttle and alternative transportation, biking and walkways, pedestrian access, ways other than just adding more roads and more cars and more congestion. It's true that we have failed to pay our officers competitively. We've lost 8 officers this year, highly trained officers that we invest in. We have fallen 8 places on the money's list of best places to live in just 2 years, and the reason was traffic. The council talks about it's been a long time coming, but let me tell you, they can put things in place and should have put things in place already. And the first thing that I will do is work with my colleagues to put in place a moratorium to take stock about what we can do about this traffic. Stop issuing residential building permits for a period of time so that we can, 45 to 90 days, so that we can figure out how we can fix the problems that this growth is causing.
The people of Irvine face a real choice in this election, a choice between a fast growth pro-developer council or a slow growth pro-resident council. If we manage to have a pro-resident, slower growth majority in place, the first thing we will do is to institute a 45 to 90-day moratorium, a timeout on the issuance of residential building permits. We will hold 3 to 6 community meetings from one end of the city to the other to hear from the residents about the planning of the city and what they want the future of our city to be. This is a time for local democracy. This is a time for local participation. This is a time to face the challenge of growth and development head-on with leaders who are prepared to chart a program and take us to a better future.
Thank you. Thanks for we're going to start with Evan. What is your view on friendship cities, and would you support exploring a friendship city with mainland China?
Well, I think the Friendship City is a great way to find out what the other cities' cultures and customs are, and I think it enriches our city as well. And I would definitely like to open it up to more cities within China, make sure it's done responsibly, so the cities over there can come over here and learn from us as we can learn from them. And I think it's a wonderful system, and it'd be something that I would love to promote as a councilman. And I would welcome any ideas. I'd have an open door, because I don't know all the in and outs of the Sister City program. And it's something that I would embrace doing. So those are my feelings on the Sister City program. I think it brings a lot of cultural diversity to our city, and it's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Lynn?
I very much appreciate our cultural diversity that we have in our community and all of the members of Irvine. People have moved from all over the world to come to Irvine and have enriched our community a great deal. The Sister City program, the Friendship City program, I know the original intention was for citizens of the United States to be able to reach out a hand of friendship to other, global citizens around the world, and to express that desire to have a relationship. I would need to learn a lot more about the program and what it would entail to say that we're having a friendship with any city around the world, because where I'm concerned is government to government. If we want a friendship with people, I would embrace that very, very readily. We need to make sure that when we're reaching out that hand, that we're learning about individuals, and that the people of whatever community or city, world city that we're reaching out to, that they actually are benefiting and have input and helping to exchange that great knowledge that we have to share with each other.
Catherine.
Thank you. I am open to any city that anyone would like to propose from the city of Irvine. If you want to suggest and us to investigate extending a helping hand to China or parts of their cities within the country, I have no issue with that. We have a huge Chinese culture here, and you should be, everyone should be represented. It's not segregated into one or another. I'm from European descent, so I would like some of the countries that my family came from. So I have an open door policy to most people who decide that the majority should rule. So if it's China, or if it's Bangladesh, or if it's India, or something like this, it should be explored, and I'm extremely open to it. Thank you.
Stephen?
Oh, but I don't like to fly.
Some of you will remember that when I was a city councilman, went to Shanghai to witness then mayor's signing to develop our sister city relationship with Zhuwei. Some of you will know that unfortunately that took place because of a Chinese government demand of the China policy. And most recently, the Baoji city was presented. It could have been differently approached. I would strongly advise you, it was a very bad, to me, approach, very bad timing, along with many of the three cities together, and we have seen that a lot of demonstrations. It was not well approached. I would strongly encourage any of you, if you are interested in, approach me, and I will guide you how to open up the dialogue. It is about time, I think, of course, to reassess Chinese friendship versus city relationship.
Marianne.
Thank you. I've been involved with Sister City in Irvine for the last 25 years, and as you know, we are friendship and sister cities with Taiyuan, Taiwan, Tsukuba, Japan, and Hermosillo, Mexico. And we have successfully had the hand of friendship given to us and returned. But when the Friendship City request to the mayor and the city council was made for Baoji, China, the mayor called the Chinese terrorist and insisted that we would not have a Friendship City with Baoji, China because of that. When he was asked to have a sister city or Friendship City with Karachi, Pakistan, he called them terrorists, Taliban, and Al-Qaeda. This is a disrespectful way to treat our neighbors in this world. And I think that the mayor of Irvine needs to be replaced. Thank you.
We have more candidates to answer this question. Melissa.
I'm very disappointed that today we do not have a Friendship City with Baoji. The Friendship City program is about people, not about government. And when it became a disrespectful debate, it disrespected our community. We want to work together to support culture, honor our backgrounds, and promote trade with mainland China as well as other cities around the world. We want to be the people to bring democracy, freedom, and trade to these communities and to work together with our residents here and the residents of those cities. I would not only support as many friendship cities as we could put together, I would definitely support trade, and I look forward to doing so as your city councilwoman.
It's been my honor to be the mayor who signed our first 3 sister city relationships. Those were outstanding agreements that have brought great benefit to the city of Irvine, the people here in Irvine, as well as to the people abroad with whom we are friends. The Sister City and Friendship City program wasn't some ideological idea by some wild-eyed visionaries. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who saw all that war in his lifetime, said that we need to have people-to-people, city-to-city contacts to build strategies for peace, structures for peace, to build international understanding. Why would we, in this most diverse and thoroughly integrated city in the United States, why would we not want to be friends with people all over the world, beginning with Baoji, China, other Chinese cities, other cities in India, and beyond?
Thank you. Unfortunately, my opponents have created quite a bit of controversy recently about the Sister City Friendship City program, and that's very unfortunate. As you all know, the previous council majority, 10 years ago or so, created a major controversy, as Mayor Choi described, with the One China policy and signing that. That angered your friends, you, and angered the entire Chinese community in our city. That was an unfortunate stain on this city's wonderful, wonderful reputation. Secondly, Councilman Agnew brought forward a proposal for a city in Vietnam to be a sister city with Irvine. And I came to council that day, and there were probably 3,000 angry Vietnamese addressing us at City Council that we cannot make a Vietnamese city a sister city. So unfortunately, this program, unfortunately, has been a controversy created around it. I think we can have sister cities, but I think the proposals need to come from you, our citizens, not from us as City Council members, and then reviewed by our staff and brought forward to us as City Council members.
4 questions left, so please hold your applause so we can get through all of them. We're going to start with Lynn for question number 5. What would you do to actively engage the Irvine Chinese community to determine and represent our interests and issues?
Well, I have already done so by becoming a member of Asian Women Entrepreneurs. It's a wonderful organization, and I really enjoy and respect these women and their leadership in the business community. Many of them are great scholars in their own right, public figures, speakers, radio announcers, and the women that I had the great pleasure of presenting Rising Lotus and Lotus Awards to just this last week. One is a child care Montessori owner and looking to open a business here in Irvine that is multilingual for students, which I think is a wonderful opportunity, as well as a woman who did have multiple awards, PhDs. She is a noted author. And also, my work with the Chamber of Commerce, I'm involved with many in the Chinese community, the Chinese business community, and they're looking to expand the reach of Chinese business owners here in Irvine and strengthen our business community. And so I appreciate those contributions very much, and I enjoy being involved with them.
Catherine.
Thank you. I do a lot of volunteer work, so through Friends of Outreach, through Legal Aid, I meet a lot of different people, a lot of different cultures. I'm always open, with open arms, to help or assist anyone in need. So I do volunteer for the donor committee at the senior center, and we always help seniors who don't have a meal on the table or can't possibly pick up their medications. And it doesn't matter what your culture is. It is only that you're in need. So anything that you need, my door is always open, my phone is always on, And you can always reach Lynn Conger, and she'll get a hold of me to help any of your parents at the senior center. Thank you.
Stephen?
As a mayor with the Asian cultural background, I think I thoroughly better understand the cultures and the people, how they think from the Chinese community. My goal is always open, and I'm the one who try to establish a closer relationship with our individual businesses and the sectors of the community. Whenever there is any event, I personally attend it, not sending my representatives any way if that was possible. So I want to continue my effort to build that bridge with the Chinese community and then also the rest of the community in the city of Irvine. We are the city, we so much proud that we have 65 different languages that are being spoken at home. So that means that it is not just one center. So all are included. As a diverse community member myself, I'm welcome to have a good relationship moving forward.
Marianne?
Thank you. The outreach to the Chinese American community includes all the quality of life issues. I've met so many people with issues around public safety, around open space. We have hikers in our open space. We have representatives talking to us about alternative transportation, always requesting additional bike trails and ways in which we can improve our bike trails. Alternative energy, we have physicians speaking to us about healthy communities, ways in which we could change planning issues that result in the health of the community. We have Chinese American people talking to us about recreation, about youth, about seniors, about culture and religious facilities. We have Chinese American people asking us to zone more property for churches, for our temples, our meeting places. I think that's what makes the community, and we make the city a better place if we protect the community qualities that our residents expect and cherish.
Melissa?
Thank you. Another great question. On the lighter side, since I've been a Community Services Commissioner, I've done food tours. I think it's a terrific idea. We'll continue it on the council. I've introduced people to Taiwanese cuisine, dim sum, and Szechuan and Hong Kong cuisine. On a more serious note, I've also instituted panels of women, guiding women into roles of leadership. I would like to expand that to the Chinese community. And I thank the Orange Club for getting out the registration movement only since April. What a fabulous job they've done, how much more we can do in the future. And when I do my leadership panels, the first lesson that I talk about is job number one is just showing up. So thank you for showing up today. And I'll tell you that on your council, I will continue to show up, not just in that role, but here in the community. And I look forward to many more New Year's, Moon festivals, forums, case events, and everything else I'll get an opportunity to attend.
Larry?
I think sometimes in public life as well as in your own private lives, one of the most important things you can do is recognize a mistake and correct it. I think we made a terrible mistake and we rejected the Friendship Cities proposals for Karachi, for Beijing, China. I think when we, in effect, say what Councilmember Lalonde said, which is that our city should not be involved in foreign relations whatsoever, that's a matter that should be left to the Congress of the United States. That's a point of view, but I think it's the wrong point of view. I think one of the things that makes Irvine so wonderful is that we engage and involve people as residents, as business people from all over the world. That's a blessing for ourselves and our children. We need to strengthen those kinds of ties and move forward together. I invite and encourage your participation. Thank you.
Jeffrey?
Thank you. First off, I'm committed to always having a Chinese American on my staff. I want to introduce to you, if he's going to stand up, my assistant, Vincent Su, who works very closely with me. And Vincent does a great job, thank you. You do a great job. But we need to hear from you. As a city council, we need to hear from you. We need to hear what issues are important to you. You know, this is such a wonderful city. I mean, let's step back. We love to live here. My family lives here. I'm raising my family. We all love to live in this great city. Now, we all may differ about certain little things here, but we love our city. And so everyone tells me, well, just keep doing what you do. Make sure the schools are great. Make sure the public safety is fantastic, which is what we do. But we need to hear from you. Now, Mayor Choi and I have had, Mayor Choi has led the effort to have forums around the city. He recently had one on Common Core, the controversial education package that we're all dealing with. My children deal with Common Core. I struggle teaching my children math these days because of Common Core. But Mayor Choi has reached out along with me to understand what all the residents of our city need, including our Chinese friends. Thank you.
Evan?
This is an amazing city to live and work. And I want to promote programs that help all ethnicities across the spectrum. And the city is getting around $290 million over the next decade from the state as part of a redevelopment rebate. What I would like to do is set aside some of those funds for small businesses as tax incentives where it makes sense for the city and the business as a mutually beneficial relationship. And these are some of the concerns I'm hearing going door to door is, there's been a lot of small businesses that have been closing. They've been replaced with franchises or with nothing at all. And so I'd like to establish a tax incentive program with the help of local business leaders and help out businesses that may be in need. Again, where it makes sense financially for the city. And I think that's going to be a program that's going to help out a lot of people.
We're going to start our next question with Catherine. Proposition 209 and Bill SCA 5 are important to the Chinese community. In the future, if SCA 5 makes it to the ballot, would you support it or oppose it?
I'm not sure. I don't know enough about the proposition to be able to support it or deny it. So I don't have a clear-cut answer for you.
Stephen?
Can you explain that the 209 is about
It relates to affirmative action.
I'm sorry?
It relates to affirmative action.
Affirmative action, okay, now particularly to the college admission, yeah. That one I oppose because it has to be on the basis of students' merit and qualifications, and not just based upon any quota or based upon grades.
Thank you. Yes, the SCA 5 failed, the statewide initiative on UC policy on admissions, and I oppose this today, and I oppose it in the future. We should, as Mayor Choi said, base our admission policy on the merit of California students.
I oppose Prop 209 and SCA 5 and anything similar that would come before the legislature. I am committed to merit-based admissions to UC Irvine as well as our entire UC system and policies.
Mary?
I think my answer will be similar to the others, but correct me if I'm wrong. Proposition 209 is the law, is it not?
Yes.
That was passed some years ago, and it restricts affirmative action, does it not? I just wanted to make sure my understanding as a lawyer, I didn't want to be embarrassing myself there. With respect to 209, it's the law. I support it. I support its interpretations, its implementation, which has been a little bit rocky. But with respect to SCA 5, I oppose SCA 5. My understanding is that will not be introduced again, but if it is, I would propose it yet again. I also believe that our system must be a meritocracy. Like any immigrant group, as a Jewish American, quotas work against immigrant groups and have to be fought for a more inclusive kind of policy.
Jeffrey.
Thank you. I think you're probably going to see a unanimous group up here about this issue. I oppose affirmative action, frankly. I think we all need to go through both school and work based on how we do our own merits. I went through college and law school. I went to Rutgers University and Villanova for law school, and I didn't have a hand up in any way, shape, or form. And I think we need to have a level playing field where you work hard, you get ahead. That is the basis of our country. It's been the basis of America since the founding of our country. So work hard, do well, get ahead, and you'll do great in our country.
I happen to agree with everybody else up here. I don't believe in affirmative action. I do believe that one should be admitted based on your prior achievements. I think that's fair to everyone. I think that makes sense. And I also think so far it's amazing that everyone here is in agreement on that topic. So,
It's very important for our children to have the incentive to work hard. If they work hard, but yet they are not able to achieve the fruit of that work, then it's going to be very difficult for them to have an incentive to continue on. All of us need an incentive. We need to believe that we're going to be able to recognize the fruit of our own labor. And for me, I think the most insidious part of affirmative action is that there will always be a question whether or not your student or you actually earned what they've been given. And so it is important for us to maintain that system, as it was called before, meritocracy, where we know that if you are rewarded with that scholarship or with that entrance, that you really have earned it and your children have really earned it.
We're going to have our last question. We're going to start with Stephen. It says, from the audience, 125 acre of the Great Park is directed for a veteran cemetery. Are you going to support the building of the cemetery or oppose it?
Yeah, the proposal was made and passed unanimously by the city council, and it is now up to the state how they will find funding to construct it. When we do that, I think we need to make sure that how we can mitigate all the homes nearby be constructed, and since veterans homes for veterans is being talked about. There will be some ideas already I proposed to some of the people that could be mitigating homes nearby so veterans can live there, and the nearby general homes would not be as much impacted because there were some concerns by the home buyers. But now it is the city council's unanimous support, and we are waiting for the state to find the funding to develop it.
Yes, the Veterans Cemetery was approved by the state of California, and Governor Brown was here just recently to announce the funding for that cemetery. The veterans themselves asked the city council, and the city council approved, to place 120 acres for a cemetery. The input from widows was quite compelling, asking that they might have a place to visit their loved ones so they didn't have to go to Riverside County, that we truly needed a resting place for our veterans.